finally got my hands on these two beauties. Triumph's new Tiger 900 Gtpro and Rally Pro. I finally got my hands on a Triumph Tiger 900 Rally Pro. Been waiting till lockdown eased before I could get out and get this. I was booked to test it on the 22nd of March, but obviously lockdown was kicking in by then, so it didn't really work. But I'm going to have a look at some country lanes, main A roads, a few twisty back roads, perhaps a little bit of light off-road. This bike's come supplied with road tyres on their demo fleet, which is a bit disappointing in one sense, but at least it means that people aren't going to go mad off-road. So while we clear this traffic, I'll just have a quick chat. This bike really is all new, although it looks the same, and it feels very similar to the old bike. It feels very similar when you're riding it. The rider position is a little bit different. The bars are a bit further forward than perhaps the old bike. I felt a little cramped to a certain extent, but initial ergonomics wise, it's just a very, very comfortable adventure bike stance. The bars are nice and wide. They're set a bit, rolled back a bit for me. I'd probably prefer them twisted forward a little bit. I feel like my hands are a bit down like that, but no, very nice. Controls all look quite like the old bike, to be fair, but I'm led to believe that they're actually illuminated at night, which is a massive bonus. The TFT screen's a big difference. As you can see in front of it, it's huge. It's like a small laptop. Very, very clear, and it's quite easy to alter it, whereas the old bike was a bit of a faff. It had to go into modes and different toggle switches and switch backwards and forwards. This one's not so bad. Just roll through forwards, backwards and forwards. You can change the different modes just by pressing the mode switch, and it will rotate between the two. I've just put myself in rain mode there. So if I now press enter, it'll tell me to close the throttle, and there we are, road mode. So let's see what she's like on the twisties. Almost straight away the engine feels much more meaty. That different firing order and the different crank setup that they've put in this new bike does feel much, much better. The old bike was very soft, it was ultra smooth, and it was a lovely bike to ride, but it suffered from being a little bit anemic. It was a little bit foo-foo. You had to really rev it, and by the time you were revving it, there was no oomph left. It was all revs and power. This new bike, I mean, I've only been riding it for sort of 15-20 minutes, and already that sort of, I mean, what, I've got 3,000 RPM now. Let's just float through these bends. We'll pick off this car here. We'll just move up nice and slowly on his shoulder, looking across the junction there. Bit of roadcraft thrown in for free. So as we come off this junction now, it'll open up nicely for me. Oh, he's even giving in for me. Thank you, mate. But that meaty power and the quick shift is absolutely silky smooth, superb. And off on the power, on the rear brake, the throttle blip is lovely and smooth. Chuck it into the corners and drive out. That's got a really nice sort of 2,500, 3,000 RPM drive already as well. Not just the engine, but the suspension is massively improved. The old WP stuff, I think, was a bit of a cheap option on the last bike. On my old 800 XCA, my 2016 bike, it was a nice bike to ride, but like I said, it felt a bit foo-foo, lacked personality. And I think already with this new bike, they've built in that sort of personality. It's got a growl to it. It's got a nice sort of on and off the throttle. If you keep the gears nice and flexible, keep yourself in that mid-range rev-wise, roll off, it slows down, which is great. Whereas the other bike, we used to run on a little bit, and you found yourself going down the gears or using the brakes more than you perhaps want to. But like that, look, coming out of the corners now, it's a tiny bit of disconnect with the ride-by-wire. You know, you open the throttle and it's not a direct drive, but it's very, very smooth. Holds the line lovely. I mean, this is not a smooth road by any means, but she's holding the line quite nicely. Put on the bumpy bits in the curb. Yeah, lovely. So I've got the Untitled bridge here. Let's have a bit of that. Oh, tractor coming. I had to do that before the tractor got there. You see, the old bike wouldn't have done that. That little blip of the throttle off the front wheel, off the top. The old bike in that gear wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have had that bottom end drive, that sort of whoosh to get at the bottom. Big tick for me. New engine, superb. Right, suspension wise, this is a Rally Pro bike, so we've got manual adjustment both ends. When I first got on it at the shop, it felt a bit soft, but now I'm actually liking that supple compliance in the standard setting. This, I was told by the young lad at the shop, Charlie, nice young lad, who this bike is exactly as it comes out of the crate. So all you see on this bike, and I will walk around later, what you see on this bike is what you get from the crate. So this is list price with no extras, and it's set to standard. They've not altered anything. I'm about 13.5 stone in my shreddies, so say 14 stone with all my kit on, and for me, I like the lully, I like this slow lull through the corners. I like that sort of lazy compliance you get on these bumpy lay roads with a bike like this. So for me, this suspension at the moment, pretty spot on. Brakes wise, we've got these wonderful Brembo, I don't know what they're called, but everyone's raving about it. It's a nice name. They've got these lovely brakes, and to be fair, I haven't had to use them in anger, but they feel really positive. I mean, they look like superbike brakes. They look like they'd be 10 years ago, they'd have been gracing the grid of a British superbike round, and now they're on a 21-inch front-wheeled adventure bike. I mean, crikey, can't go wrong with that, can you? Yeah, suspension again. At the moment, big tick. Liking it. It feels very planted. The other bike was very soft. Don't get me wrong, it was comfy. And I've mentioned my old bike anyway, which I really, really liked. The only reason I got rid of the old bike was the fact that Helga turned up on the equation, and having two bikes that were very, very similar didn't seem to really fit. And to be honest, I quite like the old classic BMW. You know, it ticks all the boxes, does everything that you want it to do on the tin, apart from going fast. Now, it's not a fast bike, and I acknowledge that, but it's just a nice bike to ride. So anyway, I digress. But this Triumph, very, very nice. I'm really impressed. Very planted. It does feel a bit top heavy, but then compared to a GS, everything feels top heavy. So it actually feels very nice. It feels very sort of steady. I think the headlight looks awesome, by the way. We'll have a look at that later. Nice pub. Most haunted village in Kent, apparently. Pluckley. Darling buds of May. Around here, mate. Perfect, as they used to say. What's nice as well is the engine note. It's got that little bit of a growl to it, but what it's also got, it's kept that triple smoothness, that sort of high-pitched whistly thing that actually says Triumph Triple. You know, if you're talking about you're doing the old guess the bike by the engine noise, there is no mistake, and this is a Triumph Triple, which is brilliant, I think. So let's have another go. Oh yeah, It actually goes so well. You can feel it. You can feel that almost V-twin-esque sort of warble to the engine as it's power. It's got a much meatier bottom end than the old bike. The old bike was a bit like riding an R6. It was a you know, like an inline 4 almost, very soft bottom end, decent mid-range, and then this little sort of quick, you know, last for a few seconds top end, whereas this has got a lovely drive. I mean, stick it in 3rd or 4th gear, and to be honest, you can ride the curve and the torque on these twisty roads all day long. Yeah, I mean, take this down to the French Alps, mate. Oh, mate, you'll be smiling from ear to ear. Obviously, other roads are available, but I do like the French Alps. I mean, the N260 in northern Spain, across the Pyrenees, is another favourite. But yeah, no, look, I mean, it's going over these bumps, and it's actually tracking really well. There's a bit of a head shake there, but that was just me faffing about with the throttle. You go over these bumps, and under power, it's very, very stable. Just keep the old throttle going, off the gas, into the near side, open up that junction, look at that, lovely. Drive, drive, drive. Off the gas, cut across, open it all up for me, and pick up there. There you go, nice. See how, oh, look at that, lovely. Have a gear, drive up that hill. Nice, sweet. Now, I said it when I tested the T7 Yamaha. On a power basis, we're not talking 1290 KTM rip your arms off sort of stuff. We're talking usable power, and I think that's what most bikers want. So you get my point. You haven't got to rev this thing to make it go. It's very nice. One thing that I'm not used to, because I haven't got it on my bike, so I have to think about it, is the quick shifter up and down thing. My muscle memory doesn't allow me to use it, because I've never owned a bike with a quick shifter or a down blipper thing. So I have to sort of think about it a lot more than perhaps you would have to normally. Right, so now let's see what happens. Nothing behind me, open the throttle. But it's nice. I think if I got used to these quick shifter things, I'd be a big fan. It's dry. I'm on road tyres, so we'll hopefully it'll be all right. Yeah, first gear not too low. First, second gear is quite nice. Now standing up, I'm 6 foot tall in your flat shoes, so. On the old heels, obviously. Standing up now, I'm a little bit further forward. I've got sort of straight legs with slightly bent knees, balls of the feet on the foot pegs. It could do being wider actually. It could do being a bit wider. For off-roading, I've got the big motorcycle boots on. I'd be on that. I'd be off them pegs within seconds. I'd need the wider rally pegs. Yeah, both predictable so far. Nothing that bad. Bear in mind I'm on road tyres, going over this stuff quite nicely. The old bike didn't have that. I remember in the Pyrenees, I couldn't have done that. I took the bike to do a Tiger down to the Pyrenees, locking the front over bumps and lumps was really hard work. But it didn't have that bottom end bite to the engine. You didn't sort of have that whoosh and the front would just pop up. Whereas now you can, and you've lost the overstick, which is so much better. So much better. I mean, it's not a massive thing, it just makes off-road riding so much easier. You've got an engine that's responsive. Now bear in mind it's fly-by-wire, you haven't got a direct response. It's not too bad. Now a bit of wheel spin. It's very predictable actually, it's very predictable, I've got to say. Yeah, making it good. Oh yeah, there's some decent rubber on. bike. I presume that wasn't what I would call off-road, but then these bikes are not designed. If you want to go gnarly through woods, then you buy an enduro bike. You don't buy one of these. If you want to travel and you want to pick up some gravel trails in mountain ranges and use it as an adventure bike, not try and pretend it's an enduro bike, then I think it'll be fine. I think you're all right with this. Always feels a bit asthmatic, doesn't it, doing 60 miles an hour on a bike like this. See, what we're getting now is we're getting this thing where the bike actually, under power, it straightens up. Off the power, it's very flickable, very flexible, but on the power, whoosh, nice straight line stuff. So it's not. Some people often say that the 21-inch front wheels are a bit vague. Now, on a lot of bikes they are. I mean, the Africa Twin is notorious for being a bit vague on the front with that 21-inch wheel. But my old 990 KTM felt very much like this, very planted. So, you know, there are some bikes that can handle the 21-inch front and still ride well. I know it depends on the tyres, but this seems to be coping reasonably well with that setup, which is quite nice. Obviously, it suits off-road rubber, so if you want some decent off-road tyres, you really want that 21-inch front wheel to complement it all. But on this road at say 60 odd mile an hour, the bike feels really stable. It's quite difficult to, there's quite a lot of effort involved in knocking it offline unless you start counter steering. It responds very well to the counter steering, which is great. What it means is that you can relax. It's not going to be sort of floating all over the place willy-nilly. For me, that's quite a plus. Yeah, I like it. Swap from the Rally Pro onto the Gtpro. I'm going to do it immediate back-to-back, so I've just got off that and been as impressed as I probably am with it. I'm going to stop and do a little bit of a sum up of the two together, maybe when I get back. But let's see, I'm going to run this on the same road route, or almost the same road route as I did with that bike, to see how they compare and see what the upshot is. I'm hoping it's there is going to be a difference. This already feels much lower. It feels more flickable. Doesn't feel any lighter, but because I'm now sat flat-footed on the floor, it feels much more road-like already. So let's see how we go on. Right, onwards and upwards. Instantly, it doesn't feel as top-heavy. Just that few yards across the car park doesn't feel as top-heavy. Okay. Let's see. I mean, it feels smaller because I'm lower. I'm not sure the configuration. Sort of straight away, my legs feel high, my knees feel higher up, and I'm guessing that's probably more to do with the fact the seat's lower. The pegs are probably in the same place. So the seat's a bit lower, so I feel a bit more cramped. The bars feel about the same, to be fair. So yeah, somewhere is a bit of a configuration issue going on there. So that's, yeah, it just feels a bit smaller, a bit more compact. I mean, instantly it just feels so much more flickable with the cast wheels, 19-inch front, fatter, more road bias setup. Suspension on this is obviously much more. It feels much more sort of in contact with the road. So yeah, it feels a bit more with it, if you know what I mean. There's no floatiness to it, whereas the other bike was very nice and whoosh and lollopy. This bike feels already a little bit more planted. You can feel it in the seat of your pants. Very steady. I mean, if this is to do what traffic would be like, it's very stable at this sort of pace. Yeah, very steady. This would probably make the better commuter, I've got to say. Instantly felt a little bit less top heavy. It's not as high, stands to reason it's not going to feel as top heavy. And the squatter, thicker front tyre is probably going to give it that bit more feedback, a bit more sort of presence on the tarmac. You can even hang off it. You've got a bit of a wobbly to it, but that's not too bad, is it? And drives out the corners very sweet. Bit Bit of a head shake there, but it's a bumpy road, this. Where's the car? No, I'll just let you have that one, mate. Fub. Once he's gone, sit back, move up, or just drift out, have a look. Yep, that's mine. Alright, thank you all. Definitely feels revvier. Feels like you want to give it more beans. Almost wants to be ridden harder because it's got that sort of attitude. You know, it's got a bit more of an attitude to it. Definitely much more flickable, steers so much quicker. The other bike was, like I said, was very stable, and you had to sort of, I wouldn't say you had to counter steer it, but you had to work it harder to make it go. Whereas this one, you can trickle in the brakes and you drive out nicely. Lovely. Could do with a bit more rebound, perhaps I'm bouncing out of the seat slightly, but then it is a bumpy road. The adventure bike probably copes with this sort of road better than this one does. But I'd have to play with suspension. I've not got the suspension set up right for me yet. Perhaps a bit more support on the back, stop it bottoming out slightly, was sort of good dropping down a bit there. But yeah. Definitely feels more sporty. Still got the same urge, same drive out the corners, same balanced feel, runs on nicely, smooth. Just ease off the old crossroads. Thank you very much. Yeah, you see out the seat there, almost.